Just so you know, this is part 2 of a 2-part video series talking about my Star Wars Clone Wars Essentials list that I have created. And if you want to watch the first part first, you can find a link to that in the description. That video has a spoiler-free section at the beginning of the video where I'm just explaining what the list is. Then I go into spoilers for the rest of the video, and this entire video is all just spoilers, just so you know. Now, without further ado, let's get back to where we left off. Now it is time to talk about the character development section of the list, which isn't really all that important in terms of the overarching story of the show, but is very important in giving us some really good insight into some of the really important characters, and they're just really good stories in general. We begin this section with the 3 episodes, Overlords, Altar of Mortis, and Ghosts of Mortis. These episodes give a lot of great character development for its 3 main characters, especially Anakin. These episodes confirm the idea that Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, and it also does a great job at mystifying the Force and making it feel like this thing that can never fully be explained. There are so many little explorations of these characters through visions and through just seeing how they react to the situations that they get into. Anakin even has a moment where he sees the evil that he will become in the future, even if he forgets it by the end of the episode. Neither of these characters will ever be the same after witnessing what they have seen on Mortis. Next come the 3 episodes, The Citadel, Counterattack, and Citadel Rescue. First off, I just love the idea of this extreme prison break story within the Star Wars universe. It is handled very well and keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. These episodes also show when Anakin meets Tarkin for the first time, which is just very interesting when it comes to the Star Wars universe as a whole. You get to see the 2 of them talk throughout the episodes, and by the end they sort of share this mutual respect with each other that kind of sets up what their relationship will eventually become once Anakin turns to the dark side. Also, we see ARC Trooper Echo die, and we see the reaction from Fives. This is the one clone that he knew and worked with longer than any other, and he had to watch him die right here. Next, we come to Season 4, starting with my personal favorite story arc of the entire show. These episodes are Darkness on Umbara, The General, Plan of Descent, and Carnage of Krell. Is there a better exploration of the characters of the clones anywhere? No. There isn't. The most interesting thing about these episodes is to see the different reactions that clones have to how Krell leads them. Each one of these characters has the same voice and the same face, but you can still pick out different individual characteristics from each one. Rex, Fives, Hardcase, Jesse, Dogma, Tup. Each one of them feels like their own individual person, and that's really what creates a lot of the drama within these episodes. You see them fight amongst themselves, and you see them deal with a very difficult question. How far does loyalty go? When is it okay to stop being loyal to the person who is placed in charge of you? There are just so many little moments that I love in these episodes. I could easily go on for a while about them, but this video is already long enough as it is. All I have to say is that these episodes are great character development for all of the clones involved. Next, we come to the episodes Kidnapped, Slaves of the Republic, and Escape from Kadavo. First off, I put these on here because it's just a really interesting and unique story. The other reason is because of its interesting exploration of the idea of slavery and how that relates to Anakin. He, of course, was born into slavery and wasn't freed until he was 9 years old, so this is obviously a very emotional topic for him. Beyond that, there are some very interesting questions raised here. What does it mean to be a slave? Is Anakin still just a slave? A slave to the Jedi? A slave to the Republic? This is a concept that's actually pretty popular within the Star Wars fanbase. The idea that Anakin was never not a slave his entire life. First, he was a literal slave as a boy. Then, he became a slave to the Jedi and to the Republic. And lastly, he became a slave to the Emperor when he was Darth Vader, when he saved his son by killing his slaver. That was the moment where he was finally free. These episodes really add a lot of dimension and validity to this idea, and I really appreciate that. And to bring the character development section to a close, we have Deception, Friends and Enemies, The Box, and Crisis on Naboo. First off, the idea of the plot for these episodes is genius and a perfect setup for a really interesting story. One thing that I really like about these episodes is that we get to see Anakin's reaction to Obi-Wan's supposed death. We have already established that he doesn't really deal well with the loss of people that he loves. In his mind, the only thing worth doing now that Obi-Wan is dead is to track down his killer and kill him himself. This obviously causes some extreme complications in Obi-Wan's plans, and overall just makes the story that much more engaging. One thing that I love about these episodes is that they start to really bring up Anakin's distrust for the Jedi Order, which is a very important thing for the Star Wars story as a whole. I also think it's interesting how in the last episode, Anakin ends up in a room alone with Count Dooku and Palpatine and actually has a chance to kill Dooku. This resembles a certain scene from Revenge of the Sith, doesn't it? I'd like to think that Palpatine saw this as a golden opportunity to do the same thing that he ended up doing in Revenge of the Sith, but only stopped once Obi-Wan came in and interrupted. Now we come to the section that is simply putting the final pieces into place for the finale of the show. These episodes are all very important at setting up the final 4 episodes, while also being really good episodes in and of themselves. First off, I will talk about the first 8 episodes in this section. These 8 episodes are actually separated into 3 different groups, but they all kind of run together, so I thought it would be a good idea to tackle them all together at once in order to save time. These episodes bring us out of Season 4 and into Season 5. These episodes do a lot. They help to finish Ventress's main story, they bring back Darth Maul, they show how Maul gained control over Mandalore, and they conclude the tragic love story of Obi-Wan and Satine. All of this is done while simultaneously showing us some of the most epic and cinematic material that the show has to offer. It is filled with death, vengeance, betrayal, genocide, unlikely friendships, and is concluded with one of the best lightsaber duels ever put to screen. These are definitely some of the best episodes, even when it simply comes to cinematography. Also, the moment when Satine dies will always be one of the saddest moments in the entire show. Her final words hit me every time as her theme plays in the background. This moment is made even more effective simply by the fact that their relationship was set up so well back in Season 2. Next comes the final 4 episodes of Season 5, which are Sabotage, The Jedi Who Knew Too Much, To Catch a Jedi, and The Wrong Jedi. I think that it is pretty obvious why I include these episodes. This is the story that Ahsoka's character has been building up to ever since the beginning of the show. These moments, and the choices she makes, are what truly define her as a character. After the Umbara story arc, this might actually be my second favorite story arc of the entire show. Every little step of the way, we see the struggles that the characters are going through. Ahsoka doesn't know what to do, so she just runs, and Anakin wants to help her, but he can't. He just needs to let her go. Discovering that Barriss was behind the explosion is heartbreaking, especially when we saw her relationship develop with Ahsoka in Season 2. This all leads to a single moment where Ahsoka is faced with one final choice. Stay with the Jedi Order that she no longer trusts, or leave the only life she has ever known. This final moment between her and Anakin tears me apart every time. This is also a very important moment for Anakin because it really adds to his distrust for the Jedi Order, something that has been slowly hinted at throughout the entire show. Now we begin Season 6 with The Unknown, Conspiracy, Fugitive, and Orders. These episodes are decently slow and there's very little action going on at all. It is simply a single clone uncovering an evil plot that is much larger than himself. A conspiracy that goes all the way to the top without anyone realizing. This is the point where you can really tell that the show is getting close to the end. For any Star Wars fan, it should be pretty obvious what Fives has discovered. Order 66. The big moment that changes the galaxy forever. When I said Satine's death was one of the saddest deaths in the show, you may have been wondering why I didn't say it was the saddest death in the show. That is because there is competition, and the competition is right here. The death of Fives. This clone that we have followed throughout the entire show. We saw him when he was a simple cadet. We saw his journey to becoming an ARC trooper. We saw him lose his best friend. We saw him face one of the biggest challenges of his life on Umbara. And now he faces his final challenge. What happens when he knows this information? How does he deal with it? How does he deal with the fact that none of his fellow soldiers, his brothers, will believe him? That moment when he dies in Rex's arms can't be described. The final line where he says that he only wanted to do his duty. It hits hard. His entire journey as a character throughout the entire show to this final moment is why CT 5555 is my favorite of all the clones. Now, to finish off this section before the ultimate climax, I'd like to talk about the last 4 episodes of Season 6. To start off with these 4, I will talk about the single episode called The Lost One. This episode is all about the Jedi uncovering the truth behind a formerly deceased Jedi, Sifo Dyas. If you remember from Attack of the Clones, Sifo Dyas is the Jedi who ordered the creation of the clones alongside a mysterious man known as Tyrannus. Ever since Obi-Wan heard this name at the beginning of the war, he's been curious about who this Tyrannus was. This episode puts that mystery to bed with the reveal that Lord Tyrannus is none other than Count Dooku. This reveals the fact that Count Dooku was involved with the creation of the clones. This heightens the suspicions around the true intentions of the clone army. Again, you can really see that the war is getting ready to come to a close in these final few episodes. Another thing that this episode does is it gives us one final mission with Anakin and Obi-Wan working together before the end of the show. And now we come to the final 3 episodes of Season 6, which help us to end this section of the list. These episodes are Voices, Destiny, and Sacrifice. Besides the Mortis episodes, I think that these are some of the best episodes when it comes to exploration of the Force. I think it was very interesting to have Yoda go on a personal journey of self-discovery. This does a really good job of bridging the gap between the Yoda of the prequels and the Yoda of the original trilogy. It also explains a lot of the whole becoming a Force ghost thing through the help of Qui-Gon Jinn. Overall, these are great episodes at exploring the Force as it relates to the final moments of the war, Yoda's character, and the Star Wars universe as a whole. Now, we finally come to the final 4 episodes, the end game of this show, what everything has been building up to. These are the final episodes of Season 7. Old Friends Not Forgotten, The Phantom Apprentice, Shattered, and Victory and Death. There's not really a lot that I could say about these episodes that hasn't already been said. The idea that the final episodes of Clone Wars overlap with Revenge of the Sith and show Order 66 from characters who weren't there's perspective is just perfect. They utilize a lot of setups throughout the rest of the show to give us one final story. Everything with Maul and Mandalore leads to these moments. Everything with Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order leads to these moments. Even the death of Fives leads to the moments that save Ahsoka's life and help Rex get the chip out of his head. Anakin's distrust for the Jedi Order and friendship with the Chancellor that's been built up throughout the entire show leads to him becoming Darth Vader and makes that moment actually make a lot of sense. We may not see his transformation in this show due to the fact that it's in Revenge of the Sith, but when we get those final moments with Vader, we get it. We know the relationship that he had with Ahsoka. We saw everything that Rex went through with his brother, and it leads to this moment where he actually sheds a tear for everything that has happened to them. I'm not going to get into these episodes a lot more in this video because I have actually talked about them before on this channel, and this video is already long enough as it is, so suffice it to say, these episodes are the perfect conclusion to Star Wars The Clone Wars. In conclusion, the idea of the Star Wars The Clone Wars Essentials list is something I came up with while rewatching the show recently, and I think it turned out pretty well. This will probably be the way that I watch the show every time I rewatch it from now on, and I hope I convinced some people to try it out as well. At the end of the day, though, everyone has their own comments and opinions, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear what you all have to say about it. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.